on Monday, May 1st, and I'll call the City Council meeting to order. Please join me in a flag salute. Pledge allegiance. Councilor Ort is excused tonight, so that would leave us with what you see up here on the dais. Is there any announcements, additions to the agenda? No? Declaration of ex-party contacts, conflict of interest, bias, etc. No? There's no appointments tonight. An opportunity for public comment. Mr. Kramer, it's all yours. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilman. I appreciate the opportunity to address you briefly tonight. Basically, I'm here in part because I'm running for re-election to the school board, and I'd like to. Sure.
Technicality, can you just announce your address, please?
Sure. 1920 North Evergreen Avenue here in Stayton. So. I appreciate the efforts that the city's made to build on our relationships. My apologies for not being there. Had a conflict for once in a blue moon. I'm not here as an official liaison for our side of that relationship. I think that'd be great if we keep building on that. I also am the only person running for re-election who is opposed. I think it's an important thing, the work that we've been doing and the community that we as a board have built is reflective of the community, and I think very much so that I want to continue to be a part of that. I have the support of all the other all the other directors on our school board. Even though we don't agree on everything, we've learned how to work together really well. And I think that we're doing the best, and I appreciate that you folks are doing good work for our city as well. And both with regard to the schools, but also I work at the hospital, and I really appreciated the improved relationship that the hospital and the city have been working on as well. So I don't really have a whole lot other to say other than that I appreciate being able to address you, and please vote. Regardless of who you vote for, please vote, and look forward to hopefully more years of working together. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. That leaves us with the consent agenda. What would the council like to do on the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilor Patty.
Councilor Patty.
I wish to move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as submitted. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 4-0. Presentations, Julia.
Thank you. So in front of you is the audit that was presented or that was prepared for by the auditors. Singer-Luack. Brad Bringenheimer is here from Singer-Luack to review the budget or the audit, and then also Summer Sears is available if there are questions. She's our consultant that helped us prepare for the audit and respond to the audit. And so any finance, what was the city finance department doing? I can answer some of them, but Summer will be better poised to answer that. So I'm going to turn it over to Brad, who can review the audit report with you guys and share with you their findings.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me tonight. Yes, I'm Brad Bingenheimer, a partner with the firm of Singer-Luack. And we once again this year had the opportunity and pleasure of serving as the city's auditor. We have before you is the audited financial statements and our reports attached to it. Our report on the financial statements is what we would consider to be an unmodified opinion, which in a nutshell says, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position and results of operations of the city for the year ended June 30, 2022. There are a couple things to note in there. There is an emphasis of matter paragraph. We do state that there was a adjustment to the beginning net position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, and the individual proprietary funds. I'll talk about that here in just a moment. As well as the city had to implement a brand new accounting standard this year. There's a new standard that came into place regarding how the city accounts for leases that are more than 12 months in, for the term is over 12 months. And that provides accounting treatments for both whether you're a lessor or a lessee. And so the city did implement those standards this year. So where did the city end up? Well, the city ended up with total assets and deferred outflows of $70.4 million, total liabilities and deferred inflows of $19 million, which left a net position of $51.4 million. That is an increase of $3.8 million, and that's on total revenues of the city of $12.3 million. So you had a pretty decent amount of addition to your net position just from operations this year. The general fund, of course, is the most important fund of the city. That's where the vast core of your governmental services are provided through. That's your city, management, the police, and all those core type of services are in the general fund. The general fund ended the year with a fund balance of $3.2 million, which was an increase of $733,000. So both indications of some improving financial conditions. In addition to the cities itself, you also have in the financial statements a couple statements on pension trust funds. So you have some pension trust funds set up for individuals who are not covered by PERS, and that those pension trust funds ended the year with total assets of $9.4 million, which was a decrease of about $1.5 million, largely due to unrealized losses on the investments that were held. Of course, we had, for June 30, 22, investments performance, investment values were down, so that would be expected. So that's kind of an overview of the financial statements. Of course, there's the whole section of footnotes, as well as then individual fund budget actual statements in this rather lengthy document. But then towards the end of it, in addition to our report on the financial statements themselves, we also issue two other reports. One report is under the requirements of the Oregon minimum standards for audits of municipal corporations. Oregon law requires us to do two additional things. The first one is there are specific Oregon laws and regulations that we are expected to test the city's compliance with. So we go through that, and we did have a few things that we noted there, mainly related to the budgetary process. We had a couple things, just minor technical things that weren't quite right in the budget document, very minor. And then there was one over expenditure in the year of $97 that we had to report. The only other item that we noted in this was you have a loan with rural development, and rural development has specific fidelity bonding requirements, and we noted that your fidelity bond was not equal to the amount that rural development would want you to have. So that was another item. And then the second thing in that Oregon Minimum Standards report is a brief introduction about internal controls. As a part of every audit, we come in and we obtain an understanding of your organization's internal controls. And we do that to help us plan the audit to focus on those areas that may have a higher risk because of weaker internal controls. Now, overall, your city's had a history of very good internal controls. So, we don't really have much there. We do have one finding. I'll circle that back also to this beginning net position correction. In addition to our report then for the Oregon Minimum Standards, we also have a third report in there under a government auditing standards. Your rural development loan requires your audit to be conducted in accordance with government auditing standards. This is an additional set of auditing standards we apply, and we are to issue a report on that. And that report looks at two things, kind of like the Oregon one does. It talks about compliance with laws and regulations that could have material effect on the financial statements, and it talks about internal controls. So on the first part, compliance with laws and regulations, we didn't find anything that indicated that there is a material noncompliance such that would affect the financial statements. So we didn't have anything there. And then on the internal controls, our one finding relates to the beginning net position correction that we had. So when we were conducting the audit this year, we were looking at the amount that's reported for the city's capital assets. Now, it's been probably 20 years since the city had to implement a standard where we had to start putting on the financial statements and depreciating them the historical or estimated historical cost of all your capital assets. And that includes all the infrastructure assets. So that's all your streets, your sidewalks, your sewers, your storm sewers, your water systems. And so, that was all done, initially about 20 years ago. And then, things kind of roll along. And at some point in time, there was something that happened. I don't even remember the whole story, but basically the detail of that kind of got lost. And so the last few years, basically they said, well, we had numbers, we'll just kind of, add what we, put in and, just keep kind of depreciating them. But this year we looked and it says, some of these numbers just are not looking right. There were some things that just didn't seem right to us. So the city undertook a very significant task of going through and trying to inventory all those infrastructure type assets. So, they measured how many, linear feet of, water lines, how many linear feet of sewer lines, how many storm sewer lines, and using that and some historical information as to estimating, when they were put in place and the type of materials used, and, came up with then, current costing, and then we were able to use some indexing to bring it back to an estimated historical cost, and then, recompute depreciation. All of that, that was a big effort. I really want to thank the city for going through that effort, and now we have good, records to go forward with. But essentially, we restated the beginning balances for those items. It's just adding additional capital assets onto the financial statements. And of course, because this is a significant number in the financial statements, the city is supposed to maintain internal controls over the amounts reported for capital assets. So we do have a deficiency in your internal controls over accounting for capital assets. But that's been corrected, and as long as those records are now maintained, there should be that problem. And as we went through this process, one of the things we noted is that over the time, as the city has grown and you've had new developments put in, it's very easy to not, as the developer comes in, they put in all new streets, sidewalks, sewer systems, storm sewer systems, water systems. The developer puts all the infrastructure in and then turns it over to the city. When the city gets those things, that really should require a accounting entry to add those assets onto your capital asset listing. So that's kind of, that's what played in a lot to these corrections, is that catching up on stuff that had been added over the years. Like I said, it's been 20 years really since a full inventory had been done. So that's kind of what I have. I'm open to any questions you might have.
Mr. Mayor, as you're getting questions, can I just add on? I want to give a huge shout out to Lance, who's unfortunately not here this evening, but he did the lion's share of that capital asset work and really within 3 months pulled that all together, and it was a huge feat. And I think he got a few extra gray hairs because of it. And then also Summer for being a complete sleuth and finding some preliminary basis for that for Lance to build off on. If it weren't for her and Lance, I don't think we would have an unqualified audit, and that's a huge thing. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows what a great job they did.
Yeah, thank you for that. So is it fair to say we don't have a current, or we didn't have a current database for all that information?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Patty, go
Thank
ahead.
you. For the auditor, just in general, I don't know if you have an answer to this question. If you don't, that's fine. Why did previous audits not note this information in the past?
Well, we had known that there wasn't this detailed information. And, it had been discussed with city management. And as I said, what we were doing is they were basically allowing them to say, okay, here's, we had numbers. It's not like we didn't have numbers, we just didn't have all the detail behind it. So what they were doing is just adding on, what the city expended, and then, a rough estimate of depreciation. Of course, depreciation in and of itself is an estimate, and we don't really know how long these things are going to last. So, we kind of had this rolling balance. But this year, we looked at it and says, it's just gotten to the point where, without some level of detail listing, we just aren't comfortable with it. And then as we got into it, Lance started digging in. I think we found that, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that just wasn't being, wasn't captured. And I think the largest area of adjustment really was probably in the storm sewer systems. Because that, that gets put in and then kind of forgotten. It's not like, your water systems where, your water mains, that kind of thing, those are, when they break. Same with a, sanitary sewer. You know if you have a break. The storm water, unless there's something really catastrophic, it kind of just can roll on and nobody pays much attention to it. But that is still a significant cost. And that just hadn't been properly captured.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Next question is for city staff. What policies are being formulated to ensure these line items in the accounting that he's talking about is correctly input so that we don't have to encounter this issue again?
So I honestly don't have a firm answer on that. I know that with James here, who you'll meet later on, we know about it now. It sounds like this was being discussed with management previously, but it didn't get trickled down to the Lance level and others. And so it's more of we know about it and are on top of it, and will, certainly be putting those measures in place. Knowing it is the first half the battle, and then making sure that we have very clear policies when we have accepting of public improvements in place to make sure that finance accurately accounts for that. And we have the information now that we can build on that we just didn't have before. And just to clarify, Mayor, we knew, it's not like we don't know that we have things, we just weren't tracking that we had them and the value of them. So I don't want it to seem like we had no idea that we had lines and things like that. But Summer, do you have anything to add to that in terms of procedures that we've stated or put in place with the finance team?
Yeah, we've talked about that. There are annual procedures already in place, and this just needs to get added to those annual procedures of one more thing that needs to happen at the end of the fiscal year. Our finance staff are going back and looking at all the assets that have been purchased during the year, and any that have been disposed during the year, any that have been contributed from developers, and getting those in place into the system, the tracking system that they have in place.
Thank you for the answer.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Giulio.
I just want to make sure, and I do feel like, and I think you just said this, so I just want to clarify. So we did know, so these are all in our systems, all these assets are in our systems, they just weren't like in the financial section of the system, is that?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of saying it. Public Works knows what they have, But as far as being tracked as a capital asset with the original value and the depreciation over time and the cost basis, that wasn't being tracked and processed.
And I would note that, there's a lot of well-educated estimates involved in this. Some of your lines are quite old, some of them are fairly new. It's hard to identify specifically what year a lot of it was put in. So there was some level of estimate on that.
Would this have any impact on, because it was tracked elsewhere, would this have any potential impact on other work that's been done around utilities, or is this limited to just the financial, like, estimations stuff? Just so I have clarity.
Yeah, it's just the financial estimations.
Great. Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you. Is that it, Julia, for that?
I think so. I think that unless you have anything else to add.
Well, I want to say thank you to city staff and Summer for working with us. Auditors, we come in and we ask 1,000,001 annoying questions, and we want to see all kinds of documents. We are a huge disruption to the normal processes the city has. But they were very helpful. Staff worked hard to get us the information we needed. So I want to say thank you to the city staff for their efforts in helping us bring this process to a close.
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilor Patty, if I may.
Go ahead.
Real quick, to city staff, I just want to address what you mentioned about our Public Works Director putting some elbow grease into this over 3 months and making it happen. I just want to compliment that work to him. It's unfortunate he can't be here to hear that. I am grateful to that and rectifying this issue. And so oftentimes I feel like we take for granted city staff's efforts. And so I just want to make sure that we address that right here and say that thank you to Lance for that.
We will make sure that he hears that, so thank you.
Thank you. That
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
leaves us with item number 8 on the agenda, which is general business, resolution number 1061, which is a plan of action for audit fiscal year 21-22. Julia again.
Yeah, so as you heard, we had our audit and there were some deficiencies that were noted, and basically we are required to have a plan of action that we forward to the state to let them know that we acknowledge those items and that we have plans to not continue those. And so what is before you is a resolution basically stating that, and then the exhibit to that is the plan of action addressing really 3 deficiencies. One is material weakness and internal controls. 2 is expenditures in excess of the appropriations, which was the $97. And then 3 was errors in detailed budget sheets and notice of budget hearing that were noted. And so we do have plans to make sure that that doesn't continue to occur. And like I said, I think I said in my cover memo, these, while fairly insignificant in this budget and audit, if we don't have those measures in place, and that's what an audit is for, right, is to identify potential areas of concern. And, I think it's great that it didn't result in any major overage or major, deficiency, but we want to make sure that we have procedures in place so that big things don't happen. So what we recommend that you adopt the resolution, which basically gives the mayor and I authority to sign the plan of action and send it on to the state.
Thank you. This is an opportunity for public comment on resolution 1061. Anybody have any public comment? Doesn't appear so. So we will leave it with council discussion. Council? I can't do it, so. Any council discussion on resolution 1061? If not, what would the council like to do?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilor McDonald.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution 1061 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt resolution number 1061 as presented. Is there any further discussion on that? No? So this is a resolution. Can I do a voice vote, or do I have to do? Thank
So you do
you.
a voice vote.
For all those in favor of adopting resolution number 1061, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion carries 4-0.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor
Councilor
Batty.
Batty. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I would like to table our next discussion until Councilor Ort can be present to discuss resolution number 1027 and then subsequently receive public comment and then following council discussion. And so I would like permission to do that at this time, or just, we can make a motion if you would like. Whatever would be adequate.
Yeah, we can certainly table this to the next meeting. That's true.
Thank you.
I think that's prudent as well with council. I like Councilor Ort to be participating, so. Rest of the council good with that?
Yep.
Cool. We will table that until next meeting. Opportunity for communications from city staff. City manager Julia again.
So since we tabled that and we're on a finance roll, I will start with introducing our new finance director, James. If you would like to come up and take a couple minutes and introduce, I think you've met some of them at the last meeting, but you can kind of give a little rundown on who you are.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to be back here. I've attended some meetings, and one of them was the Revitalized Downtown Stayton meeting. And I commented that I moved here when I was 4, so I feel like I'm from Stayton. But even at that meeting, I got some grumblings like, oh, he moved here when he was 4. He's not really from Stayton. So, for the record, and I do live in Turner, that needs to be said, but my great-grandfather moved to Stayton. My great-grandmother was born in Stayton, and they bought property here along the Santiam River on Kingston Lions, and the property is still in the family. My sister lives in the house now, so I do consider this my home. Yeah, happy to be back here and serving the community. My family's in Cambodia, where I've been the last 7 years, and I'll be joining them in a couple weeks, but then we'll all be back here in June, so be happy to serve you guys alongside you.
Awesome. Well, officially, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Don't worry, I'm a heathen that was born and raised in Silverton, so it's okay.
If it makes you feel any better, I moved here when I was 11, so.
If it makes you feel any better, I actually was born and raised here. So.
I was born here also.
I can't play that game. Awesome.
So just note, and I'll probably mention this through the budget process as well, because of the timing, we're actually pretty close to wrapping up the budget. So James is certainly jumping in and being aware of the budget. He is actually leaving for Cambodia, I think day 2 of our budget hearing. So unless you guys are like just running through the budget, he probably won't be here through the whole budget process. But Summer, who's on the line, has been helping us and has been leading that effort. And so don't be surprised if you don't see him through the full budget process, but he's here now and already just jumping in and getting involved. And we've been giving him next audit, he'll get to shepherd that through and those things. So
Welcome aboard.
And then my next announcement is really more of, we want to show a video because somebody in this room was interviewed live on Coin TV this morning. We didn't quite realize it was going to be live, but it was, and he did an amazing job, but I wanted to show it to the council and the public.
Time for Mayor Monday, and we're headed to Marion County this morning, checking in with a city known as the gateway to the Santiam Canyon.
It's the city of Stayton. It's located just about 20 miles southeast of Salem, and the rural community has been seeing some growth lately. Joining us live with updates this morning is Stayton Mayor Brian Quigley. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. First of all, about how big is Stayton? What's the population there?
Sure. So we have 8,400 people currently. and there might be a little bit of a population expansion shortly with some new housing development coming.
Okay, let's talk about what's happening downtown. We're hearing there's a lot of revitalization, some new activities. So catch us up on downtown Stayton.
Sure, you bet. So really, Stayton had an identity crisis a number of years back, and within the last couple of years, our local organization, really a grassroots organization, revitalized downtown Stayton, has really taken it upon themselves to revitalize downtown, and it's really done a fantastic job being a Main Street organization and getting grants to the tune of $500,000 to really improve some of the buildings that we have here. From a facade standpoint, you can see a lot of the buildings were just to the point where no one really gave it any attention, and we've really done a fantastic job of revitalizing the downtown district. We have salons now, we have tap houses, we have little places to shop, we have a fantastic theater, a community theater. It's really taken a hold of itself, and really being the hub now for people to come and visit.
Talk a little bit about your economic development strategy. What do you want to do in the city of Stayton as you move forward?
Yes, thank you for that. So currently we have a couple of projects going on. We have 80 acres that is an industrial zone just to the west of town. And we are trying to unencumber that piece of property for industrial development, try to really cultivate that. But the big piece of excitement for us is our former cannery, Norpac Cannery. They left a couple years ago, and they were just recently purchased by a development company that has visions to turn it into an industrial facility. It's about 600,000 square feet. It has rail capacity, has heavy-duty electricity right there now currently, and plenty of parking. So we're excited about that possibility about coming to town and what we can do from that standpoint.
Oh, yeah, lots happening there. You mentioned earlier some new housing developments. The need for more housing is something we're seeing all around the state. So what's happening in your community?
Sure, yeah. So for the last 20 years, we haven't had much improvement as far as multifamily development goes. Right now, we have two major projects going on for 180 total units, of which 72 of those will be low income. So there's an expansion, there's an attraction to Stayton, and it's really taken off. We want to be careful, though, and have controlled growth, obviously, so it fits in financially, and as well as leaving our community having the same feel that we've always had from a small, affectionate community.
Is that part of the reason why you're seeing a few more people move there? What's been the extent of, your growth in terms of population and people looking at Stayton as a place to live?
Yeah, great question. I think it's still the quintessential small town, being so close to Salem, they still have amenities from that standpoint if they wish a little bit more, to try to find something a little bit more from that standpoint that's not here. But we have everything here that's contained. And the biggest thing about Stayton I can tell you is our sense of community and how everyone gets involved and rolls up their sleeves and really pitches in to make this a livable place. Our quality of life here is really special. And you can be to the coast, in an hour and a half, or you go to the mountains, Detroit Lake. I mean, just the central geographical location for Stayton makes it attractive.
Yeah, we're glad to hear that other folks feel the same and that we're seeing some growth in the area. Stayton Mayor Brian Quigley, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Good to talk with you.
Thank you for having us.
And if you want, of course, if you want to stay up to date on what's happening in Stayton and communities all across the area, you can check out our previous Mayor Monday segments. Go to coin.com.
That wasn't too bad, was it?
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Councilor Patty, that was outstanding, and that kind of attention to Stayton and notoriety about all that's happened here over the last years is how to get the attention and people into that industrial area. And I was really happy to hear that you mentioned all those things. I can't compliment you enough. That was outstanding. That was not bad. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I really got to give props to Julia. I mean, we initially got this note, and it was last week, and initially it was, oh, hey, we're going to do this, but we're going to air it in October. And so Julia and I both thought we had some time to get it, and then I look at the email again, it's like, oh, this is happening this week, and we're like, okay, we still have time to do it, no big deal. So Julia got some talking points together with us together. And then this morning, she walks in and she tells me, I'm not convinced it's not live tonight. I'm like, oh, it's not this morning. Sure enough, what happens? It's live this morning, and here we go, rock and roll. So It was a lot of fun, but yeah, good stuff. I appreciate it getting on the map. I really appreciate having the opportunity to showcase what the community has done, because it's really a community project, right? The downtown revitalization folks had a vision, and it's really setting off, and it's really going the right direction. So it's really good stuff, really cool. So thank you for that again.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Giulio.
Yeah, I just also wanted to say you did a fantastic job. You know, I think that the governor campaign is going to start very quickly. You know. No, but I also wanted to echo what you were saying. I think it was, you know, I think moments to celebrate are fantastic. You know, I think there are these moments, you know, we always press on, and I think those are good, right? We want to press on to what's next and to continue to preserve and grow in the right way. But I think it is a good thing and a healthy thing to step back and reflect and celebrate the hard work and really all the hard work that's gone in over the last 10, 20 years to revitalize and make this just what it used to be, you know. And I think I think you encapsulated it very, very nicely. And yes, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. With that, 2 questions for me, Julia.
Yes.
Have we notified the Boy Scouts of the project yet?
I did send an email to the leader, and I haven't heard anything back.
Okay,
So
I just
will
want to make sure
follow up with him.
Lance asked me this afternoon when I was in the office, and I didn't know, so I thought I would ask you. Budget Committee, we're still 1 shy, yes?
Yes.
I will not be at the next meeting, so I asked Councilor Patty to run it. So if we can maybe get 1 more person before then for the Budget Committee, that'd be awesome.
So, Mayor, on that, if we're tabling the rules discussion, do you want me to table that to a point where everybody?
Yeah, I think so, right? Would you guys good with that? Yeah, I'd like to do that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be out of town on the 15th, so. I think that's all I have. Does anybody else have anything else? Councilor Patty?
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Julia for the talking points, because those are helpful, and it's sometimes hard to sum up everything over the last few years of our terms too. And it's really helpful when you sum it all up in line items that we can go ahead and communicate to our constituents so that they understand what's happening here and what you all are doing. So thank you for empowering Mayor Quigley to do that. And then the other thing I just want to say is, Mr. Kramer, thank you for your attendance, and I look forward to seeing more of you here and there as well as we move forward in this collaborative relationship with North Sam School District. So, thank you.
Anybody else? I do have one request. I would like somebody to join me on Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? Ways and Means Committee.
Yes, and I actually believe that Councilor Sims can.
Oh, you are?
I am waiting. I need to still get confirmation on that. I sent an email to Senator Girard's chief of staff, and I haven't gotten anything back, just to make sure that you're going to the right place at the right time.
Yeah. The rest of the council, we have an opportunity to make our statement, make our case for funding for the sewer project on Ida, and that's what we plan on doing this week. So once Julie gets us that information, we'll make sure that myself and Councilor Sims goes if he's available. Awesome.
Good luck.
Anybody have anything else? No? With that, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.